yesterday she was named Playmate of the Year. So we thought we would say the dessert to last on our show tonight. Would you welcome Dorothy Stratten? By golly, that's you. You really are a lovely young lady.
Thank you.
I saw you were on the news last night, I think, on the local newscast. Did you know, how long before did you know that you were selected as Playmate of the Year?
Well, we started shooting the issue sometime in October of 1979.
Right.
And we finished in March of 1980.
Right.
So we shot for quite a few months.
Yeah. You're from Vancouver, I mentioned. Well, now, what did you do in Vancouver? Were you a professional model at all before?
No, I just graduated from high school when I was approached by Playboy, and I was working in a telephone company. I was a clerk typist.
You're putting me on.
No, I worked there just 6 weeks before they carried me away.
That was good. Good move. Somebody said, what's this business of working in an ice cream stand?
I worked there for 4 years, part-time while I was going through high school.
Right.
And one day, this gentleman walked in with this gorgeous blonde, this long fur coat, and I had him sitting waiting on him at the Dairy Queen, 2 little pigtails and a little red smock on, and I said, "Can I help you?" And he said, "What's your name?" And it happened from there.
It's like something you would hear in a movie, right?
Yeah.
And they said, "Come to Hollywood." And
when I was being asked if I would, Playboy was looking for a 25th anniversary girl then, so it was a big contest. And when I was asked if I would pose for the magazine, I couldn't talk to my mother about it because she was in Europe, so I had to make the decision on my own. And my boyfriend, who's my husband now, just said that it was the best thing for me to do, and so after about 3 weeks, I finally decided I would.
What's going on, everybody? How you doing today? Here I am, just south of Holmby Hills, right near Bel Air, Beverly Hills. Those would be peacocks, and that's the Playboy Mansion right there. So straight ahead, that driveway, go in, make a right, and go all the way up to the famous mansion, the famous Playboy Mansion. That rock right there, that'll yell at you, believe it or not. If you park in that driveway, if you turn around that driveway, before you know it, somebody says, "What are you doing here?" Or, "How can I help you?" Usually, it's not "How can I help you?" It's, "Do you have an appointment?" That sort of thing. They're not nice. And even if you stop kind of on the street, I've heard voices yelling at me before. But look at those amazing statues. I'm not sure what's going on with the Playboy Mansion right now. I believe it has been sold, and I know there's massive reconstruction. You see the gardeners that work there. But there's a lot of signage on that door, on the gates there. But that is the world famous Playboy Mansion. Down the street, there's a parking lot where guests would drive, park their cars, and then shuttle them to the Playboy Mansion for those famous Playboy Mansion parties. And that's where a playmate by the name of Dorothy Stratten met Peter Bogdanovich, a very famous film director. Dorothy Stratten, that's who this video is about. Canadian girl who came to LA with dreams of making it big, and she did, but it didn't last very long, unfortunately. Cars whipping around these corners. So, and there's lots of security around. Let me just see if I can get a good look at that, because that's the famous rock you talk into. Look, see? Right there, at the top there's a hole. You speak into it and you say, "I'm here to see," well, back in the day, Hef, or whoever, Heidi, I don't know. then you either get buzzed in or you don't. That's it. There's the Playboy Mansion right there. So this video is about Dorothy Stratten. And sadly, Dorothy Stratten was murdered by her husband at the time, Paul Snider. I'm going to take you to a few locations having to do with Dorothy Stratten, and we're going to pay our respects at her grave. She's here in Los Angeles at Pierce Brothers Cemetery, where I've been in Westwood. Right now, I'm going to take you to another location having to do and tell you the full story about what happened to Dorothy Stratten. But she came here, and she was staying here a lot, hanging out, partying, trying to make connections, trying to be more famous. Well, she was pretty famous, but even more famous. And sadly, that dream was cut short by Paul Snider. Okay, let's go. These cars don't stop. They don't stop. Keep on coming. So here I am in Bel Air, about a 5-minute drive from the Playboy Mansion, just along Sunset. And when you hear Bel Air, you probably think of Fresh Prince of Bel Air, right? Or Bel Air, you think of ritzy, wealth, glamour, extravagance. You'd be right. Bel Air is all of that. This is the home of the wealthiest of the wealthy. Let's say that. I mean, the homes have names. Whispering Pines Manor is right there. Not a lot of people have names for their house. Right here is Peter Bogdanovich's former home. You can see that big black fence. It's under construction, and we're going to take a closer look. I'm not sure what is happening there. I've tried to get some information. Looks like it's being rebuilt. The front of it is Diane Keaton's former home as well. But Peter Bogdanovich lived here for about 20 years in the 70s up until 1990. He lived here with Sybil Shepherd. And then after that, Dorothy Stratten stayed here. They were going to do a movie together. Or they did do a movie together, and that's where they fell in love and began having their affair. She was still married, but she wanted out of the relationship. Paul Snider was an abusive, emotionally, physically abusive man. She wanted out of the relationship. So she was in New York shooting the movie with Peter Bogdanovich, began an affair with him, and came back to LA and stayed here. Let's take a closer look, see what I can show you. You can see part of the house from the front here, the old part, but there's definitely a new part being built on right here. But it looks like they're keeping the same sort of structure, but it's kind of cool that I'm able to see so much of it. Yeah, it looks like they've torn down quite a bit of it. You can see inside through there. May have taken it down to the studs and rebuilt it. It's the same roof. So I'm not sure how they're rebuilding this house, but it's definitely being rebuilt. And it stretches far. I'm going to show you an aerial view of what this house actually looks like. So back on the other side, there's it just goes right around this corner. It's far. Sometimes if you're walking around Beverly Hills or Bel Air, looking at houses, see the impressive driveways, and then you can see the house right away, and you think, oh, it's not that, crazy. The lots are huge. But this is indeed the former home, I should say, of Peter Bogdanovich that he shared with Dorothy Stratten. Now, Dorothy Stratten, of course, being a Playmate, famous Playboy Playmate, still had to work at the Playboy Club. There were a couple of them. There's one on Sunset Boulevard, another one in Century City. And we're going to go to that one right now. So, does that look familiar to you? Right there? Of course, that's Nakatomi Plaza from Die Hard. Right there. This is Century City. This is Avenue of the Stars. Now, the former Playboy Club, where Dorothy worked, is located right here where this new building is. And I don't know what's going on here, why there's so many black cars out in front. but I can't really get to it that easily. But it's a very distinct looking building, so it's got that big open area in the middle. But the former Playboy Club that she worked at was this one in Century City. But of course, that little block is all different now. And if you watch a TV show, I don't know, but maybe about 8-10 years ago, called Franklin and Bash. It was with Mark Paul Gosselaar and Breckin Meyer. This was their offices. So I knew this building. I looked it up a long time ago, before YouTube. I was like, oh, where's that building? That's cool. Like, where in LA is it? And I found it. And then when I was doing research for this video, I was like, oh, wow. Right in the shadows of Nakatomi Plaza, which would not have been there as well. That was being built at the same time Die Hard was made. So this whole area is very, very new. That building looks a little old, but these ones are, they look to be a little older. Hard to tell. But yeah, the former Playboy Club was located right here. And now we're on our way to the location where Dorothy Stratten sadly was murdered. Let's go. So here I am just north of Culver City, really close to where that Playboy Club was. Not too far from the Avenue of the Stars, about 5 minutes away. And this is a location I've been trying to get to for a long time. It's not because it's off the beaten path or far to get to. It's just I wanted to tell the story for so long, and I have so many that I want to tell and that I want to feature on my channel. I kept putting it off because it's a big story and it's a sad story. But here I am, and I just met the owners of the house actually, and they are so sweet. They said that many people come by and take photos and videos, and to go ahead. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you what happened in this house and walk a little bit closer. Let's go. I should add that Dorothy was from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. When she was 17, she was working at Dairy Queen, and that's where she met Paul Snider. He was, I believe, in his 30s at the time. Oh, he was 26. No, he was 26 at the time. And he submitted photos of her to Playboy. And they were scouting for a new Playmate to be the feature in the Centerfold of the 25th anniversary. So he sent us some test pictures. But when Playboy saw the photos, they arranged for her to fly down to Los Angeles, her first time in an airplane, and of course, first time in a limousine. So she came to Playboy. So she came to the Playboy offices, and then one of the workers there, a former editor, said that they would take some test shots, send her home, and then let her know if she made the cut. And of course, she did not make the cut. Someone else did. But she did appear in Playboy. So she was out in California here. Snider was back home, but she stayed in touch with him every day. She relied on him a lot. She was a little overwhelmed being in LA for the first time. Did I mention Snider was a dirtbag? Because while they were at, he flew down while they were at the Playboy Mansion. He'd be trying to get with other girls while he was with Dorothy Stratten. While she was in the house, he'd be in the grotto trying to get with other girls. Unbelievable. At one point, he was caught with another girl and he was kicked off the property. He was only allowed back if Dorothy was with him. And then at the Playboy Mansion, that's where she met Peter Bogdanovich. And he decided to write a role specifically for her in They All Laughed, which had Audrey Hepburn in it, Ben Gazzara, and one of our channel's favorites, John Ritter. So Snider was obsessed with Dorothy Stratten. He was obsessed with her. He didn't allow her to drink coffee because it would stain her teeth. And apparently, this is according to my buddy Scott Michaels, he poisoned her pet dog because he was jealous of it. By August of 1980, they were separated pending a divorce. And that's when Dorothy was taking up with Peter Bogdanovich. So Snider was sharing an apartment with a friend named Dr. Kushner. And this is where Dorothy and Paul actually lived in the apartment together. Kushner lived upstairs. Dorothy Stratten and Snider lived in the downstairs. And I believe that window there is the bedroom. And the bedroom is where the murder took place. And there's a very famous photograph, or one that I can find, of Dorothy's car, right where that car is, and some media people out front. As you can see, the house is quite a different color, but it's about right there where her car was parked. Apparently there were 2 other women living here as well, so I'm not sure how that worked. I can't believe I'm standing in front of this house after all these years. When you're doing true crime, you kind of gotta be a little stealthy sometimes because it is people's private homes, but meeting the owner who was just like, yeah man, go ahead, makes it a lot easier just to kind of linger out front. This is what I've always wanted to see. You can see they do have cameras, so if you're going to come out here and take a look, take a picture or a video if you're making one, but you know, be cool, respect the privacy of the owners. So it was August 14th, 1980. Dorothy agreed to meet Paul here at the apartment, and she showed up just after noon. She was carrying a big zippered handbag, and she had withdrawn $1,000 in cash to give to Snider, and she hoped to settle her split with him for once and for all. Oh, did I mention that Paul Snider had hired a private investigator to follow her around? Well, he did. And at 12:30 that day, the private investigator called Paul, and Paul told him that everything was going fine. Again, thanks to Scott Michaels for this part of the research. The story's all over the internet, but I like to rely on Scott from Dearly Departed for the exact details, as gory as they may be. He gets them always correct. So at 5 in the afternoon, the 2 female occupants of the apartment came home. They noticed that the 2 vehicles, Dorothy and Paul's I should say, were in the driveway. So they saw that Paul's door was closed, which was formerly Paul and Dorothy's door, but it was Paul's at this point, and they heard no sounds. They assumed Paul and Dorothy wanted privacy. They went out to eat at around 7. The doctor, who lived upstairs, came home, and he decided to give them privacy too. He knew Dorothy was over. And around 11 o'clock, the private investigator called the doctor on his private line, right up there, somewhere in that window up top. Because Snider's phone was just ringing and ringing. So the investigator said maybe you should take a look into the room, see what's going on. And they did, and they immediately called the police. So the police arrived at 12:30 a.m. They found Dorothy lying across the end of a waterbed. Now this is not nice details, but there were black ants crawling all over her. And there was a bullet hole from a 12-gauge Mossberg shotgun on her cheek. There was blood on the walls and curtains. She was missing the tip of her left index finger. I should add that Snider had been trying to buy a gun for a while. He wasn't able to because he was a Canadian citizen. He didn't have the proper identification. He finally got one from a local newspaper ad. No one knows for sure exactly what happened in this house, but blonde hair was found in Paul Snider's fists. So one scenario that makes somewhat sense was that Dorothy was sitting on the corner of the bed when Snider put the gun up to her cheek. She tried to shield her face with her left hand. That's what caused the missing tip of her left finger, left index finger, when he pulled the trigger. And roughly about a half an hour later, he turned the gun on himself and fell on top of the shotgun. There were bloody handprints on Dorothy's behind, on her buttocks. And there were ants crawling all over Paul too, so they had been dead for quite a while. Another thing that was interesting about this story, not interesting, was weird about this story, was Snider had a lot of schemes of how to get rich. You know, once tried to make weight benches, and with the scraps he made a bondage bench. And he tried to sell it to a place called the Pleasure Chest here in LA, and they decided not to buy it, and it stood in the corner of his bedroom for months. Now, near Dorothy, in that bedroom, was that love seat, and according to police, it was set in a position for possible rear entry intercourse. See what they're looking at. They're taking a look too. There was evidence that the seat had been used and she had been fastened to it with medical tape. Dorothy Stratten was cremated and buried on August 19th at Westwood Memorial Park. and we're going to go there now. Paul Snider, I should add, is buried up in Vancouver. It's definitely strange coming out of this area. I didn't realize it was so close to the freeway, this house. I knew the street was a quiet little one. As you can see, no one's really out and around. I knew it was a corner house. Like I've been studying this house for a long time and thinking about this story for so long. And it's bizarre being here, and I'm glad that I'm finally doing it and that you're beginning to see it as well. I want to give you a feeling for this street. It's so tucked away. You wouldn't know it. I mean, there's a freeway right there. Kind of like Tom Petty says, there's a freeway running through the yard. And the house is just right here. One of the most famous murder houses in Los Angeles, for sure. We are at the final resting place of Dorothy Stratten, February 1st, 28th, 1960 to August 14th, 1980. People bring so much courage to this world, the world has to kill them to break them. So of course, it kills them. It kills the very good and the very gentle and the very brave impartially. If you are none of these, you can be sure that it will kill you too, but there will be no special hurry. We love you, DR. And that's my visit to Dorothy Stratten. May she rest in peace, right in the shadows of, right over there, Marilyn Monroe and Hugh Hefner, just right kind of there where I'm pointing. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. Rest in peace, Dorothy Stratten. Peace and love to all of you. Peace out.